To me, Malayankunju is also a story of redemption. If you had placed this film as a comedy film the first half, even then it would have worked. For a long time, I was like, I was telling Mahesh and saying, let's see if, what if Anikuttan is funny? Many times I've got stuck in the elevator and I've had the best. So I am not claustrophobic at all. I don't function around the characters. I function around the narrative. There was a time when I would come to set, the chief light guy would come and ask me, at least today, will you save the baby? I said, I'm just getting there, I'm just getting there. So personally for me, Malayankunju is just one of the difficult films I've done.
I'm so happy that we're talking today to discuss a movie that I really loved, and I watched it a second time and I felt like there's so much more that I gained in the second viewing. So let me start discussing your character, right? Anikuttan is a very complicated kind of a guy, and you don't like the way he talks, you don't like the way he treats his mother. To a large extent, it's because of him he doesn't take his mother and go to a safer place, right? Is it very important for you to kind of empathize with him? Can you play a character like Anikuttan without judging him?
I believe in the basic goodness of people, so that's how I approach everything. To me, Malayankunju is also a story of redemption. So, and for that journey, I think it was important. See, to start with, we thought about doing this film in a linear way, starting with the sister's wedding and going in the order. And that was such a giveaway. I mean, it was so easy to. So primarily, we wanted to get the audience a little curious about this guy, and his his layers are so complicated. His shoes are not addressed well, So we basically set a platform for the journey Ani to Puni. What we were very clear about was about the journey or the story of redemption or the travel from grey to white. Everything else was a setting. And I still believe that even if you played Anikuttan in a different way, the journey would have still worked. If you had placed this film as a comedy film the first half, even then it would have worked. I mean, it was just the choices that. So for a long time, I was like, I was telling Mahesh and saying, let's see if, what if Anikuttan is funny? He's like it depends on the choices that you actually end up making. But I strongly believe the narrative of Malayankunju would have remained the same regardless of how the first half was set.
In terms of, I watched the movie again last night, and for about 35 minutes of the film, basically you have like 5 words or 6 words as your dialogue sheet, right? 5-6 names and then 2-3 calls. In terms of dialogue, is this the thinnest booklet that you had to work with in a movie?
No, the descriptions are crazy. Descriptions are crazy, and Mahesh's left side is always more detailed than the right side. So we had a proper detailed. Also, what you see now is a more refined version. There was a point where Anikuttan would start talking to himself, and there was a whole sequence where he's actually talking to himself. He's actually talking to mom. He's talking for himself and answering from mom. He basically tells her that I'll take you to Sandhya's house. So there were moments like that. We rooted for the relation between Puni and Ani after a point. So we thought everything else was like unnecessary. Let people guess the rest of the things and let them see only this.
He's talking to, he's talking to mom, and he's already changed, and you can feel that he's changing, and he's saying, let's forget everything with Sandhya. After we are out of this, I'll make sure I'm a good brother, all those kind of things. Yeah. Wow, amazing.
Yeah. So there was a sequence like that. So yeah, sometimes, you make, you think that, okay, this is not required, what's required for, personally, I've had lots of experiences like this, the final edit session. So I was just sharing because I like that scene and they don't want it. So.
No, but first, tell me about the scene in the color shop, right? The bar scene. Of course, as characters, you've lied, you've cheated, you've murdered lots of people. But then there's something extremely real about having to mouth a dialogue that's also got a casteist kind of slur, right? It's not something you will never do in real life. But it's also, as an actor, it's also something very real that you have to do in that particular moment. When you compare doing something wrong for the character, like committing a murder or something, is this slightly more complicated because it feels a little more real, right? It feels a little more painful coming out of you. Is there something like that?
See, that's right. I don't function around the characters. I function around the narrative. For me, it's very important. So it's as important for me what I say, how the person reacts. I mean, you look at the culture shop scene. I was very particular about what exactly I would say, how exactly this person would react, what actually triggered me. So I look at the bigger picture than one scene, always. So I don't know if it's the right way or wrong way to do it, but for me, that doesn't matter. I'm focusing more on what I'm trying to do with the film.
Let's talk about the 30-40 minute stretch, where you're stuck in that gorge, where you're stuck in that place, and the days when you were shooting it. It's a complicated kind of setup anyway. Like even without the pressure that you have to take about performing there and all that, it's logistically a nightmare. You have to go down that place. You have to be there for many days, right? Starting with the basics, what are the, like, in terms of continuity, what are the like really difficult things that you have to deal with? Like, for instance, on a basic level, you have to basically wear the same clothes for 20-30 days, right?
Yeah.
And every day you have to wear that. You get out and then you come back the next day, you have to wear the same thing. You have to go, you have to be in water for so long. What is all that doing to your state of mind when you're putting yourself through this kind of struggle and torture and all that? So what is your mindset like?
So personally, for me, Malayankunju is just one of the difficult films I've done. I've been through much more strainful shoots earlier, like whether it's Yogunda Pustakam, Varathan. So Varathan had the fight sequence scheduled for 31 days. It was in rain, and we had to shoot from because the fight happens overnight. And there was a portion where Amal was very particular that he wanted to shoot between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. And that too, like in a place like Wagaman, where you have to sort of wet yourself, and you have to shoot in rain. So I mean, we ended up shooting that sequence for close to 3 weeks or something. As an actor, I don't share, or I've never discussed how difficult it is to capture, because it's difficult for everyone, not just the actor. It's for the DOP, for the art director, for the set guys. It's difficult for everyone. So I've never discussed it. I think it's a part of what I do, and I get paid for that, and that's not challenging for me as well. I think it comes to me very naturally, like not just for me. I've seen so many actors. I've functioned with so many actors, and it's all. I mean, for actors, that comes very naturally. The challenge always for me is to have that emotional continuity. Like, I want to pick it up from where I left it yesterday. And most of the time, that's not just possible. Possible for me, not possible for me, I'm saying. There are other actors who just pick it up like that. So for me, the challenge is always that. How to keep the emotional continuity consistent. So that is quite a stressful process to actually have that, have that continuity consistent for like 30 days is a bit. It's mentally stressful, physically stressful, and also when you shoot for too long, the set starts getting tired. Like, so there was a time when I would come to set, the chief light guy would come and ask me, "At least today, will you save the baby?" I said, "I'm just getting there. I'm just getting there." So yeah, and it's a collaborative effort, right? And this was the advantage of this film was we couldn't shoot for more than 3 hours in one single stretch. Everyone would fall. So yeah, so we shot like 3 to 4 hours a day, and we made sure that everyone is safe and no one is exhausted. And most importantly, what we need to make sure is that people are not bored. If I get bored, that's it. If Mahesh gets bored, that's it. If Saji gets bored, so it's important that all of us remain excited about what we're doing.
What is it like to be inside that place? It's a very, very narrow place. It's a very suffocating kind of a place. And although I know that there is another chief lightman, but basically you're the lightman in the movie also, right? Because it's your torch and the light that's taking care of all that. So what is going on there? What are you feeling apart from when you're actually shooting the shots? Are you also feeling very claustrophobic by the end of it, or do you kind of
no, the set was actually designed to make the actor feel claustrophobic. I'm not claustrophobic. I like pitch dark, and I like sitting in corners, and I'm not claustrophobic at all. Like there were many times I've got stuck in the elevator and I've had the best. So I am not claustrophobic at all. But see, with the entire exercise, it was important to identify what would a person do. Like, if he gets I don't know if you remember. There's a toy I find.
The rattle, yeah.
That wasn't part of the script. That wasn't part of the narrative at all. I got so bored there, I started playing with it, and that actually, So these are things. So we were talking to people who actually, who sort of experienced this or witnessed this. So the stories that we've heard is there were people who started singing songs. There were people who started talking like the scene we did and then edited off. Then there was people who started hallucinating, like major hallucination, And then there were kind of people who actually started interacting with things around, there was a person who was stuck with a phone. The phone didn't have signal. The phone could turn on and all that. He started watching videos. Like there's nothing else to do, So yeah, so it is a very rare experience, to get stuck somewhere. And so when I was shooting this film, I also had an accident.
Yeah.
So I remember the 20 minutes from the location to the hospital. So that 20 minutes was all about. So my eyes, this eye wouldn't open. So my thoughts were like, is it never going to open again? Is it going to be like this forever? So what will I do next? Is there a possibility for me to go back and finish this film? Or should I start directing or start producing? So in that span of 20 minutes, I had such, crazy thoughts.
Life plans, yeah.
Yeah. So imagine a person who's like stuck in there, so yeah, it was a very wild experience. And, I was performing end of the day, but even then I could feel for someone who would actually go through the tragedy.
No, but then when you're doing this, of course, you said 30 days, and you yourself said that you run the risk of feeling bored after the 10th or 15th day of doing this. So how do you kind of get yourself to feel that every single, like at least the 10th or 15th time? Because it's not that fresh, intense feeling that you have in the beginning, right? Now you know the structure, now you know the process. How do you prime yourself to start thinking on the 15th
No,
or 16th day?
I demand them, it's not like I demand them. It's like the boredom will be visible, the way you perform, the way we shoot. So immediately we try to shoot something new, something fresh, something that was not there, So that happens through not just a film like this. I think that happens through all the process of filmmaking, I think. So the only way to fight that is actually, just hit it out of the park and try out something new. Maybe the same scene a different way. We'll try performing in a different way, or we try shooting it in a different way, or we try doing the entire scene in a different way. So these are challenges I think every aspect of filmmaking goes through. And yeah, that's how you crack it, I guess.
Yeah. No, one thing I noticed, because I watched the film with headphones on, which I didn't notice when I watched it in the theater, is how your voice kind of changes through this, because it's not a performance where you have co-actors. It's not a performance where you really have like any physicality, right? It's not that you can move around, or there's very little physically that you can do. But yesterday when I was kind of watching it again, I could notice the voice shaking, the voice trembling, and it sounds like a man who's shouted so much that he's losing his voice. So, in terms of is that something that you can very easily crack as an idea when you're working on it, or is it something that you have to rework when you do the dubbing part, because it's so distinct and it's so chilling by the end of it,
Yeah. So like film like Malayankunju, everything is a layered process. You can totally redesign this film at the edit table. You can totally redesign the film at the sound table. You can make it a different film at the music table. So a film like this has the advantage of sort of redesigning at every stage of post. So my dubbing was such. Vishnu, we tried a lot of way to dub. We actually placed a mic on top, and I looked up and dubbed. Then sort of stretched myself on the couch and dubbed. So we tried different modes of dubbing, which is again learning, and so that was intentional because the sound designer specifically wanted that. Also, we used a lot of track from the time we shot. I mean, the pilot track. We used a lot of that too. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I rarely do dubbing for my films, and whenever I've done it, I've realized I've sort of discovered the advantage of sort of correcting your mistakes and giving it a new definition.
No, even in the interviews that you gave before the release, you were talking about detailing and all those kind of things that go into your creating a performance, creating that character. I want to kind of understand, because Mahesh and Sajimon, these are people that you know for such a long time, right? So I kind of want to understand how that co-creation bit happens in terms of the character. For instance, the thing about Anikuttan bringing that packet of biscuit, right? I feel it's like an ingenious kind of a touch. The same thing with the hiccups. Now, all this could be there in the script, but then I want to kind of understand the discussions around the hiccups and the biscuit packet and the way he kind of behaves when he wakes up at 4:30 or 3:30 in the morning. What is that process like? That creative process like?
Yeah, so this guy has a pattern. Basically, when you start the film, you set up his pattern, and the second act is all about disturbing his pattern, and the third act is him taking revenge, and the final act is the what do you call the tragedy. So it's very clear, what all you want to communicate in each act. The first act was actually, he has certain things of waking up in the morning. He likes the silence. He likes the, loneliness he gets when he gets early in the morning to work. So these are all things that Mahesh actually contributed, and so Mahesh's co-sister or someone had a baby in the family, and so this baby's cry is something that he told me about first. The pitch in which they cry. So we wanted to explore that detailing in the sound. So there were a lot of things that we'd actually seen or observed around us that we wanted to incorporate, and that's how all this came together. The biscuit thing is again, Mahesh, when he goes to edit, he takes something to eat. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen Sham do that. When I'm shooting with him, suddenly he would walk into the room or walk into the vanity with something to eat, and eat that and he'll talk. So I think that was nice. So these are all observations that I don't know who said it, but it was all there when I went in the shoot. And most of the time, I don't even remember who contributed.
Sajimon, the director, kind of tells you certain things about the character. Has the communication become so easy that you immediately get it, or do you still have to keep asking a lot of questions to really understand who this guy is?
No, I have to ask. I ask with all the directors. I want proper clarity, and if I don't have that, I choose not to shoot. And I don't work out a script. That's what last time I worked out a script was like 10 years back. I don't even read it now. It's like too boring to read it also. Like, I just tell them what it's about. You ask them, just tell me what it's about, then we'll try and figure it out. Yeah, so I depend on everyone around to function.
One thing Mahesh sir said, something that was very interesting was, of course, you spoke about the accident, and how you got injured, and and they brought a whole crew from Bombay to kind of make sure it doesn't happen again. And Mahesh sir was saying that he got the shot he wanted, but then you still kind of insisted that you wanted to take another shot, even though we've got it covered. And he mentioned the reason as you kind of wanting to overcome your fear. Can you just please take me through the fascinating philosophy? And can you tell me about a couple of fears that you were able to overcome by just going forward and just doing it?
There's nothing that I'm actually like I fear doing for a shot. Like, whether it's skydiving or deep sea diving or for a shot, I'm more than happy to do it. But on a personal level, even if I go to an amusement park, I don't understand this philosophy of paying so much to get, this. So I look around. So we were traveling last year. We were visiting my sister in London. We'd gone to this amusement park, and my wife was trying out a lot of stuff. And for me, it's all about like I don't understand why people are paying to get this experience. So for me, it's all about when I had that accident, then there was a break for like 4 or 5 months where I didn't think about shooting again, or so I was on my own and chilling and all that. So eventually, when we decided to go back to shoot, uh, I don't know. I had this fear of actually going back in there and doing that sequence again or shooting there for another 30 days. I was very skeptical about that. So I thought, we'll just start with where we left, so that everyone is, otherwise everyone is going to be, like they're going to make me so conscious, when I walk or when I sit, they're like, oh, careful, 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 I wanted to avoid that drama. So we didn't shoot there again. We went there and I spent a day in the sets. I sort of explored the entire sets, walked around, and so yeah, so that gave me I think I overcome my, sort of broke my fear there, and I just wanted to shoot. And secondly, my accident was not anyone's mistake. It was an accident, and such things can happen again in cinema. And so, yeah, so I didn't make such a big deal out of it. I just wanted to move on from there.
Just coming back to those 30 days when you're shooting those scenes, right? Of course, you said it's about 3 to 4 hours of shoot, and I'm sure even though you say it's just 3 to 4 hours, it's still extremely draining and complicated and all that. So when you're going through a stretch where you're shooting in sequence and you're just priming yourself to be in that mindset, how difficult is it to kind of come out of that? Just come out of that mindset and just can you actually relax on those days, come out of that and just watch something on TV and just not think about it? Or does that kind of being in that place force yourself to be in that mindset for such a long period of time?
No. I switch like that. I make sure to come back home after work, and no, I don't carry homework, and I don't have hangovers and things like that after work. So I leave it. I leave it there. There are other interests also than cinema, right? So
Yeah.
I try to explore that, and yeah. So it's just, I go there, perform, and when I leave there, that's that, and I sort of review it the next time I go back there. I didn't even come back home and call them and ask them, did it work for you? Should we do it again? I go and ask that the next day, not even the same day.
Was it like that always, or has it become like that through practice because you've been doing it now for
That's
so
become
long?
it's become like that because I've become lazy in the process. Yeah, and I've started taking it easy. Yeah, I've been doing this for 10, 12 years, right? So maybe I'm getting bored. I don't know. So, yeah.
I hope not. I hope not. Finally, like you said, this is again a film about redemption, and and you look at it very literally, and the way the movie is shot, it's actually like a rebirth, right? It's a man who's coming out and being born again, and it looks like that, with all those veins and the water and all that. It's like a literal rebirth, and you've done redemptions before. You've done that redemption arc with other characters before. But I want to ask you this about Shami. Okay, I want to kind of ask you about a character like Shami, who his character just ends there. We don't know what happens to him. Of course, you've got your closure when it comes to Malayankunju and Anikuttan and all that. But when you think about a character like Shami, do you feel that he's redeemed, he's transformed, or do you feel like he's still somewhere stuck as that bigot, or as somebody who empathizes with characters like that? How do you kind of see where he is right now?
He's there where we left him. I mean, he would like primarily. I don't think he would ever have a journey of redemption because he thought everything around him was wrong and he was right. He took himself to be the complete man. And so Shamis were Kerala's, and and yeah. So I mean, not the entire Kerala. Part of society is still there. Uh, so that will be there as long as Shamis are there in the society. And I mean, uh, so people identify the traits of Shami to a lot of people around.
Ourselves, like myself.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Even myself. Yeah. So I tell everyone, what is Shami, who Shami, and I am Shami. So that's everyone is. So yeah, so Shami will be discussed as long as the traits of Shami is evident in the society, I think. So yeah, so he's there. He can come back also.
Fahad, my last question. I want to know about working with Fasil sir. Of course, he's the producer of this movie, and honestly, I'll tell you, when I watched the film again, and that sequence when you get that vision and Jafar Iddiki's character kind of comes and then takes him out, it reminded me so strongly and so poignantly about the ending in. And it's one of the Mappus, the way Shobana ma'am's character kind of comes in that boat, and I somehow felt it's like a spiritual mirror to that scene. So I just want to kind of understand, your discussions with Fasil sir, his ideas, the amazing concepts that he's got in his mind, and the stuff that you might work with him someday, because he's a great director and a very, very original thinker, right?
Yeah. So with Malayankunju, we've had creative discussions with him, and one thing during all the meetings, what he said was the relation between Ani and Puni begins under begins below 40 feet, and that is just connected with her cry and me shouting out Puni, and there's nothing else. And so that was something he always spoke about, and that's very honest. So treat it very honestly. Don't make it a what do you call? Don't make it cinematic. Uh, so he kept talking about let her cry up to a point, let her not cry, and let people think that she's missing. So he wanted that journey to be focused on than the first half of the film. So that's when not just me, Mahesh, Saji, we all realized that he wants, his films are on emotions. There's never a geography. Like if you look at his films, there's no geography. What is the geography of Manchester? I don't know where the story set. The story set in some palace. I don't know if it's
some palace. Yeah.
So if you look at Nokata or the Kandanadda, it's set in some house.
Yeah.
But where? Yeah. So he is least bothered about geography. He's only concerned about the emotions on screen. And that was a learning experience for me. Like, I am like very rooted where the story is happening, what is
the details.
Yeah. And then I realized a method where you don't need all that, So that was a learning experience, and that was one. And two was that, so like, it was a very complicated project, which the timeline went out of control, the cost went out of control. So, I mean, it was easy to have someone like him, and he wasn't bothered about the cost or anything. So that was easy.
So that's my time part. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you,
I hope we can meet in person sometime and do a really depth longer one.
I know. Maybe after I do a film, that's worth it.
Of course. I mean, Malayankunju is more than worth it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to more stuff. Let's see.